Well, good evening, Denver Bronco fans. Welcome to the Denver Bronco Roundup, brought to you by Rocky Mountain Sports Network and, of course, Willow Seasonings and Blends. Willow Seasonings and Blends is our sponsor. Head over to willowseasonings.com, type in DBR 2023, and check out, save yourself 15%. That's a fantastic deal. We got a fantastic show lined up. My name is Keith Bregman. I'll be your host. Just to the side of me, Trevor Salzman, my co-host. Welcome to the show, Trevor. How you doing, sir?
Oh, doing pretty good, Keith. Just ready for Broncos football. I feel like it's been years now.
Isn't that amazing, man?
Yeah.
One bye week, and as our regular co-host, one of our regular co-hosts, Albert was saying, a super bye, and all of a sudden, man, we are jonesing for some Broncos football. But I was also thinking about it too, man. It was not that long ago that we were all, sad and upset about our lack of, primetime games. There's nothing more prime time than Monday Night Football, man. So what a way to come back off of the bye and head right into Monday Night Football. Wish it could be at home, but we're heading to Buffalo, man. Let's start talking about a little bit about this matchup, man, because it's going to be a key matchup, as we kind of said in our ad, as to what can become for the Denver Broncos, man. So what are some of the things you're looking at as we come, through this bye? What need to happen during the bye in order for us to be prepared to take on the Buffalo Bills in their home?
Yeah, so I would say build off the momentum that you had against the Chiefs, and you won two straight games against the Packers and the Chiefs, and carry momentum into Buffalo. That's a team that's kind of down right now. The good old saying of knock them when they're down. I mean, that's something that would be great for the Broncos right now. And what better way to come out of a bye than a huge win? Might be the win of the season if you get it in Buffalo. The offense, I think Sean Payton talked about it a little bit this week. He's kind of learned some tips from other coaches, like, hey, you read around the league what to do during the bye exactly. And not that Sean Payton really needs to know because he's been a head coach before, but that's great advice to get from one of the best play callers from the game, Andy Reid. So I would just say just continue to build off the momentum that you had on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. The defense right now, they've been playing lights out. And I think if you can continue to have the production, give the offense a chance, you're going to have a chance every single game.
All right, man. Defense lights out. As you say, man, who has stepped up? Who's been the man? And hey, you're saying we just need to continue, but there's always somebody that can maybe take that next step. So who's made the difference so far in these last few games? And I don't mind if you talk about a coach, as well as, who can continue to step up and really solidify this defense. And then we'll swing over to the offensive side of the ball as well, man.
Yeah, I would say I can't talk about the defense without mentioning Vance Joseph's name here. He's done a great job, I think, coming in and just kind of simplifying the defense a little bit and just helping these guys play their strengths a little bit more. Zach Allen, I think there's a plethora of guys that you can name in on this that I don't think it's just one guy that you can name that has helped this defense get to where they're at. Zach Allen, his run defense has been a lot better. He's continuing to get after the quarterback. He's just getting better game by game, I think, and really, getting comfortable under VJ's defense like he was last year in Arizona. I would say, DeMar Mathis has stepped up a little bit. He stepped up against the Chiefs game. Baron Browning, having him back has been huge. Nick Bonito, of course, being on the other side of Baron Browning is huge. So I think it's just a plethora of different things. Also, health, I think, is huge. Coming into this, if you don't have, we've seen that earlier in the season when you didn't have Justin Simmons and Josie Jewell, how that turned out. So, I think it's just been health and just this team finally playing up, especially on the defense side of the ball, playing up to where they need to be and where their talent is and what their upside is finally. So, that's what I would say on the defense side of the ball.
Pearl Heater coming in and saying hello first and foremost. Well, I guess actually that was kind of secondary because she was so jonesing to get in on the answer. The person for her that's really turned it around so far has been Mr. Baron Browning. And yeah, Baron Browning has been somewhat of a wrecking ball as he's come back. Really, really solidified an edge spot in a way that, we haven't seen. Someone else had pointed out on another podcast, had to go back and take a look, but Baron Browning is about the only edge rusher I've seen take a tackle and hit him, make him take a step backwards, and then continue the rush and to get after the quarterback, put pressure on the quarterback. There hasn't been. Nick Bonito, love him. He's a speed rusher. You know what I mean? Jonathan Cooper, just not capable of creating that kind of push against a true NFL caliber offensive tackle. Baron Browning has definitely been that guy, man. So good shout out there by both you and by Pearl. Pearl is in here as well. Did have Ernie Mays that came in and who came in, says, "Go Broncos country only." Hello, men. Well, hello to you. This is Trevor. If you haven't recognized him, been on a podcast with him, sometimes he calls us all out together or out individually. So I wanted to make sure because we need to get your name up there, buddy. Graham's coming in and said, "Would be great to have a pass rush on Monday night." A pass rush on Monday night can come from many different areas and spots. You can create pressure from inside, outside. You can create pressure by blitzing, and you can in that regard, you can blitz from multiple different positions. In your opinion, Trevor, man, if we are going to create that pressure, if we are going to get that pass rush on Allen, how are we going to get it done? How does it have to happen, bud?
Yeah, I think that I think definitely blitzing, but I think that Josh Allen has been really inconsistent this season. He's been one of the most turnover prone quarterbacks in the league right now. So I don't think you got to like overthink it, because if you try to overthink it, that's when he could possibly beat you. He's a guy that loves to throw the long ball. So I would say get pressure on him right away. I would say blitz him, mix a different couple packages up. But Josh Allen's very smart. He's an elite quarterback. I know he's having a down year this year. But I think that you don't have to overthink it. I would say zone. You can still go zone and be fine. Just because he has had a lot of turnovers this year. But again, I wouldn't be afraid to blitz him at times as well, because you definitely don't want him to get back in there in the pocket and be comfortable all night. That's the last thing you need right now. So I think you have the edge rushers definitely to get the job done. This is a Bills offense that has really not just been Josh Allen turn over the ball, but also had a lot of fumbles. So this is a team that definitely likes to turn over the ball on offense.
You talked about when you came in here about continuing what we did well. One of the things I really liked in that last game against the Kansas City Chiefs is we saw a little bit of Nick Benito shadowing Patrick Mahomes. Now, that could be a fantastic way to also go against an Allen as well, right? Yeah. Because he has the legs. He can take off. You need somebody that can get after him. Also, Nick Benito has the go in him to go, okay, I can see he's going to sit back there. I can get after him. I can go right now and get after him and pressure him and put pressure on him. I kind of like that idea. I don't know what your thoughts are around that.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's one thing you have to remember with Josh Allen. He's a guy that likes to scramble on me. But part of that is just I kind of wonder how much he's going to scramble in this game, because I think he is a little dinged up a little bit. So I don't want to worry about that as much as the long ball. But I would certainly think that whatever you did against Patrick Mahomes probably will likely work versus Josh Allen. So I would say, if that's the philosophy that the Broncos want to go with, I think definitely try it out, but be willing to and be open to adjustments throughout the game, just to give yourself the best chance, and don't be stubborn. Just stick to one thing, Yeah.
Well, you're preaching my language right there. Adjustments, man. That's one thing, we haven't spoke of too much, but has certainly happened in these last few games. We've seen adjustments throughout the game. We've seen adjustments in halftime. We haven't seen just come out and see absolute failure in the second half, and wondering what happened. I think we've done well in our game planning. And, part of it has been, honestly, sticking with the game plan, maybe not adjusting as much as you think you need to. But that being said, it's been a recipe for success here. A recipe for success is always having great fans in our chat. And Jeremy's in here, and he's saying, "Go Broncos," and what's up with you too? Hey, man, we're just in here having a fantastic Friday night with our Bronco fans, with our Denver Bronco Roundup fans. Appreciate everyone that's jumping in here, including one of our fantastic co-hosts, Jody Moncrief, jumping in saying, "Hit Allen early and often." Would love to go ahead and get him rattled. And, well, I don't know if you rattle him, but at the same time, just keeping the pressure on him, keeping the hits on him, him, maybe having a little bit of concern around that shoulder that you were talking about that he's coming in a little bit chipped up with, it would be nice to think that they have to all of a sudden rely on the run game because the passing game isn't going their way. That would be a fantastic recipe for the Denver Broncos going in this game.
Yeah, that's a team that just does not like to run the ball, and they do not do a very good job at it. So their passing game is really that is their offense right now, I would say, and they don't have a premier back to do so. But they're not going to go off on you with their running game right now. So I think that if you can stop Allen, that should be your main focus for VJ in this defense is stop Josh Allen. He's the X factor on offense. You have to stop Josh Allen.
Yeah, and stopping Josh Allen is, in my opinion, kind of a two-part piece, right? Well, maybe a three-part as of lately. Honestly, they don't have too much as far as concerning wide receivers. They have Stephon Diggs. Definitely got to keep track of that guy.
Yeah.
Gabe Davis, not a bad 2/3 out on the field. Beyond that, wide receiver-wise, there's not much to write home about. Pure and simple. One guy, though, that's kind of taken off as of lately is their rookie tight end, Kincaid. Yeah. And he's came in, and he's filled in for Dalton Knox, and that's not what they really had planned, Dalton Knox being out, but Kincaid has came on and has been playing quite well as well. So how do we go ahead and we eliminate, we've been talking about how we maybe eliminate Josh Allen. How do we eliminate the weapons out there for Josh Allen as well?
Yeah, I would say, I think that comes with Singleton and Jewell. I mean, you keeping those guys around, that's what you're doing is definitely trying to cover a tight end. Now, I mean, he's no, they're rookie, Buffalo's rookie tight end. He's no Travis Kelce. So, but I think that also goes back to the Chiefs game. You shut down Travis Kelce in that game. I mean, let's be honest, they did. He did not see a lot of touches. So you have confidence. We're talking about Broncos confidence in general as a team. How about that linebacking core with Joseph Jewell and Alex Singleton shutting down another tight end, taking away another threat? Also, you have Jaquan McMillan, and Patrick Surtain. McMillan's been playing a lot. He's been playing a lot better this year. PFF had him the highest rated, graded defensive back on the Broncos right now. So that's saying a lot right now about McMillan.
It's an amazing leap, and it's an amazing leap because, quite honestly, he wasn't expected. The expectation for the Broncos and for me, I was high on him at the very beginning of the year. At least one of my two guys I was high on has panned out. But the guy on defense I was really high on was Damari Mathis. Damari Mathis is now on special teams. Yeah. That's where you find Damari Mathis. Maybe, through these last 9 games, he'll get stretches where he's brought into the secondary, see some spots, see some glimpses. But for all intents and purposes, he is not being relied on to be a cornerback. It's all went to Fabian Moreau or McMillan, and that is it. I mean, that's done, said story right there. So I'm sorry for Damari Mathis because I really think he is a fantastic player, but that start to the season put him in the doghouse, and he's going to have a tough climb back out of that. This secondary is one part of it, man, and yeah, hats off to the linebackers and what they did with Travis Kelce, but I'm telling you that secondary in this game is going to be pressed a lot harder. There's nobody on the Kansas City Chiefs that you're worried about from a wide receiver standpoint per se. Nobody. Not a Stephon Diggs, I can tell you that. And I'm a heck of a lot more scared of Gabe Davis than I am about just about any of the Kansas City wide receivers. So that being said, this secondary is definitely going to have to step up. This is going to be a game where we're going to see a PS2, a Fabian Moreau, a Jaquan McMillan get absolutely tested within this game, as well as our safeties. Well, I don't know if you looked at the rankings as far as defensive players, as far as the bottom, but Mr. P.J. Locke, that's where he kind of resided for the Denver Broncos. So that being said, he's got to step up big if he's going to be playing in this game alongside Justin Simmons. I think that's going to be big key as well. I want to get to the comments real quick, and then I'm going to get your thoughts on those cornerbacks and those safeties as well. Graham's coming in and he's saying, would be nice to have Vaughn this week. Laugh out loud. Absolutely. Well, at least the Vaughn that we used to have.
Yeah.
If we had the Vaughn we used to have, then that would be a fantastic matchup with Josh Allen. Yeah. Kenny Kirkpatrick of the amazing K&K Sports Show guys comes in and says it's the dynamic duo and two of my favorite out of the Mountain Time Zone, and the best Friday night Broncos talk around. Well, man, yeah, appreciate it, Kenny. Kenny, for those who don't know, K&K Sports Show East Coast Sports Show, cover all the major sports, East Coast flair, and they also have my favorite show that was just on last night. I'm going to have to go back and watch so I can get all my wits and wagers lined out. That's the name of the show, Wits and Wagers. Check out the K&K Sports Show. They're our cousins in the industry. And then he's coming back in with a big old DBR. He says, I do have a question for you. I may have missed it, but we all know that Josh Allen can do with his arm. But the one thing that you don't overlook is his legs. Thoughts on how you stop him from running wild. My thought, Kenny, we talked about a little bit earlier, Nick Bonito was used as a spy on Patrick Mahomes. I would do the same thing here, and I think that you can definitely get after Mr. Josh Allen a little bit quicker than you can Patrick Mahomes, as long as he doesn't hit stride.
Well, I also think that the defensive line needs to have one of the best games of the season. I mean, right now, I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's just, I know Aaron Browning and Nick Bonito are the edge rushers, quote unquote, but you need to have, I think, big game from Zach Allen once again, because you have to, the defensive line, you cannot just fall asleep on him and let him, run outside the pocket and run for big yards. You have to be able to crowd him in the pocket, make him feel uncomfortable, and then go from there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. DJ Jones,
yeah,
Allen, these guys up front. Guys, the one thing that we're overlooking, even though this Bills team record doesn't look all that great, they're a top 5, top 10 offense, top 5, top 10 defense in a ton of categories. Yeah. A ton of categories. Yeah. It's not going to just be a walk in the park. They are a good team. We do have everything lining up in our favor. We're coming off a 2-game win streak. We got a bye. We get healthy. We can game plan like no other. We're not having to worry about going Monday night on a short week or anything weird like that. Everything kind of lines up for yet again another win. Graham jumping in here. Graham, if you don't know, is actually a kind of a Broncos expert and actually has done a little bit of writing. I forget exactly who, Graham. I apologize, but if you want to drop it in the comments, he's kind of an expert out there. He says he had McMillan drafted the Broncos in the 3rd round, and he went undrafted. Look where we are now. Hats off to you, buddy, man. I mean, I guess hats off to the Broncos as well for being able to pick him up undrafted and get him on the team.
Well, it wasn't that just that was a George Payton guy once again. It was not.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. That had to be a George Payton guy. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. This is second year. So
keep him around. I'm telling you, George Payton. It's the wrong move to get rid of him. I'm telling you.
All right, we're gonna have to have a big old rundown on that on one of our shows. Yeah. The whole GM, as things keep going, just like everyone wanted to get rid of VJ at the very beginning of the year. Yeah. As players start playing well, as things look good, hey, you got to start looking back towards that GM who brought him in as well. And
one thing quick, Keith. So we talked about the new headquarters deal kind of coming up with the Broncos. Ooh. George Payton had a say-so on that, him and Sean Payton both. If you're going to fire GM, are you really giving him any say-so what the headquarters are going to be looking like, or what's going to happen with that? Right. I mean, that's the thing. That's why I wonder, I think George Payton has a longer leash than we may expect. So I just want to add that quick note in there before I interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No, man, you're good. I did want to point out, Graham, and especially for anybody who's just listening in and maybe not just watching, Graham wrote for Predominantly Orange. Fantastic Broncos media outlet, and watched and listened to them quite a bit. So
I think Graham had a show too as well. I think they just had Ryan Edwards on, I think.
Oh,
so
jeez, man, we're going to do everything to promote any Broncos or any other podcast. No, I'm just kidding. Hats off to you, Graham. I appreciate you jumping in here and being part of our show. I appreciate your knowledge and everything that you bring, and to be here as well just helps us out. So thank you so much. So Kenny's just jumping in and saying a thing to watch is the wind. Right now it's expected to be 20 to 30 miles an hour. And Jody's coming in with a little snide comments, and Russ has a weak arm, laugh out loud. So Pearl coming in saying, I am with Kenny. Love both of you. Well, thank you, Pearl. Appreciate it so much, man. You've been a fantastic fan of ours, and we're looking forward to the onion rings that are going to be at the DBR Monday Night Football onion rings.
Winning onion rings.
Winning onion rings. Yeah, I always forget the winning. Yeah, it's kind of like the outro. I'm going to have to get this all right. But, yeah, those DBR Monday Night Football winning onion rings. I'll have to get a picture of him up on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network website if you get that done for us, Pearl. I appreciate it. So, hey, Graham, you saying you nailed it? Yes, sir, Trevor. That's exactly what's going on as far as who do you had Ryan Edwards, was it?
Yeah, from
Yeah.
KOA. And I saw
KOA.
Graham actually followed me today on Twitter. So thank you, Graham, for that, and thanks for tuning in the show. And that's awesome. I think Ryan Edwards is I have a lot of respect for him and what he does. So that's awesome. I'll have to definitely tune in on that interview and see what Ryan had to say.
That makes two of us, man. Makes two of us. So, and Pearl's just coming in saying, she's got the onion rings already. Those winning onion rings. All right. No, but getting back, we were talking a little bit about cornerbacks and safeties, the pressure that they are going to be put on these guys. I kind of gave you my 2 cents on it, man. Did you want to add anything on that? And then let's flip over to the offensive side of the ball and what needs to happen in order for the Broncos to bring home a win.
Yeah, I think this might be actually one of PS2's probably biggest games of the season. I think he's got Stephon Diggs. I would imagine that's who he's going to go after, and he's gonna have to cover. I would just say I think a lot of what the Broncos are going to be able to do up front is going to depend on the corners. So this is not just, I should say, the biggest game for PS2. It's the biggest game for the whole secondary, the whole defense. It might be the biggest game that this defense has to play this season. And I think they rose to the challenge against the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. Now it's time for them to do the same thing. Buffalo Bills, what better way to do that on Monday Night Football? There's no better way to do it.
I agree. I agree completely, man. This is a big test. You said something a little bit earlier. You said this might be the biggest game on the schedule. I would say, or the biggest win we could have. The win versus the Kansas City Chiefs to get that monkey off our back has got to be right up there. But you're absolutely right, man. A win right here, right now, what it could mean, could be huge. Absolutely huge. That being said, man, how does the offense get it done? What happened during this off time, this bye week? And how did the Broncos completely, put this all together just perfectly? We talked about the defense. How do they put it together perfectly on the offense in order to execute and get a win in Buffalo Monday night?
Yeah, I would say just stick to the running game. Stick to what works. I mean, I don't think that going into Buffalo, don't overthink it. That's the last thing I want Sean Payton to do is overthink this and think, oh, we need to outduel Josh Allen. No, you don't. You don't need to outduel Josh Allen because you need to stick to what you have. The reason why you beat the Kansas City Chiefs is because you were sticking to your strengths of this roster, and we were running the football. This is a Buffalo Bills team that is pretty high up there in the league in sacks. So I think 29 they have on the season. So this is a team that, and Von Miller is going to be out for blood against his former team. So you know that they're going to be ready to go after Russell Wilson. And I think that putting Russell Wilson in the best scenario possible, I think you have to continue to run the ball, mix different packages in there. I'm going to be definitely interested to see if Sean Payton dialed up any plays during this whole bye week. There's no reason to not come out in this offense be looking better, at least from what they are, because this season, I don't think that they've rose to their expectation of what they should be. Yeah, I don't think that they've risen to their upside yet. I think there's still a lot to be made of the offense of the side of the ball the rest of the season.
Very good. So much like you said, man, you said we need to stick to what we've been doing. We got that run game going. The run game's been great for us. It's what propelled us to win against Kansas City for sure. You know what I mean? That stick-to-itiveness to the run game. So it's just more of the same. And honestly, you don't want to see the playbook, anything new drawn up, any fancy new plays, any no double reverse, a big pass down the field,
How about we get Marvin Mims involved? This would be the game to do it.
Oh, okay. So maybe there are some wrinkles that you'd like to see.
Yeah.
I see. So I knew I could. I knew if I just pried, there'd be something, man. All right, man. So running game is going, but we need to get Marvin Mims more involved, man. How do we get Marvin Mims more involved? Who goes out? Is it a different set? How are you going to accomplish Marvin Mims being on the field and getting a few more touches, especially against Buffalo when you, like you said, you want to run the ball?
Well, and forgive me if I'm wrong on this one. I think their cornerbacks are pretty beat up at cornerback right now. So this would be the great time to get Marvin Mims, over the deep ball going with him. We've seen him and Russ kind of connect that earlier this season. I would like to see that a lot more. Continue the running game. Don't shy away from that. but also take a chance. I want to see a couple of deep shots. I don't just want the conservative team Broncos offense. I want this team to take a couple of deep shots when they have opportunity to do so. That's how you're going to win a game. That's how you're going to go in there and knock Buffalo while they're down. I mean, that's how you're going to knock them out of the game early. I think is commit to the run as soon as they commit to the run, and at least expect it. Throw a deep ball past Marvin Mims. Why not? What are you going to lose? I mean, let's see what Russ's arm is made of. Continue to feed Marvin Mims the ball. That's a second round draft pick that you had to trade up for this last offseason. And you're not using them right now. I mean, there's no excuses right now for Marvin Mims not being used. I'm done with those excuses of Marvin Mims sit on the sidelines and not getting any playing time. He's not going to get any better by just sitting on the sidelines not being used. Why draft him?
Jeez, all right, Trevor, all right. I'm just kidding. Graham coming in with a little bit of a joke saying, Marvin Mims, the running back. Laugh out loud. I kid. I appreciate it, Graham. And we got Ernie Mays coming in and saying, Broncos Monday Night Football will be 5 wins, 16 losses. Our last win was 1989 on Monday Night Football. Oh, my goodness. Ernie, you're not bringing me any good news, buddy. I'll leave that up there for anybody else who wants to read that and, just wallow in that statistic. I'll have to look that up if that's the case, man. That's amazing. I can't believe it's been that long. So,
what was the last?
I'll tell you this. I'll agree with you. Marvin Mims needs to be part of this offense.
Yeah.
He needs to get more involved. But this is the thing that I don't like. The few times that we have seen him on the field, it's like, okay, out comes Marvin Mims. He's going to be involved in the play. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
Out comes Marvin Mims. Oh, no, it's a reverse, and it didn't work. Well, no kidding. It's the first time we've seen him in like a quarter and a half. Everyone's keyed up on Marvin Mims and what he's going to do. If we want to get Marvin Mims involved, we had to have a heavy rotation within our wide receiver group. There's going to be times that Cortland Sutton's not going to be out there, and it's going to be Jerry Jeudy and Marvin Mims. There's going to be times that Judy's not out there and Mims is out there. You know what I mean? There's going to be times that Mims isn't out there and Jeudy and Sutton are out there. I think we need to stick to that heavy set that's been going so well, that run game that's been going so well, that heavy tight end, fullback, extra lineman out there, in the blocking scheme. That works, but that only works with 2 wide receivers. But if you aren't rotating those wide receivers and giving them all opportunities, then it's obvious when all of a sudden Marvin Mims runs out on the field.
Yeah.
Get him involved throughout the entire game. So I know who this is. We got What's Up, Boys? That's Mr. Kurt Valente. The other half of the K&K Sports Show, guys. Again, check those guys out. Kurt Valente has a fantastic Broncos podcast that he puts on every single Wednesday. So check that out. I know that you'll all love that. But if you guys are into a little bit of basketball, like to get football and a little bit different taste outside of Broncos country, maybe you like a little bit of baseball and maybe you're a Yankees fan or something like that, check these guys out. I'm telling you, they know what's up. They got that East Coast flair. And like I said, great podcast, K&K Sports Show. So, all right, man. Offense has, like you said, needs to continue to do what they're doing. But one thing I wanted to bring up, we found out, that Greg Dulcich this week is still working his way back, still trying to get healthy, still not quite there yet, out there seeing specialists. Greg Dulcich was supposed to be the joker on this team. Does Greg Dulcich, in your opinion, and I want to get your thoughts on this, does he come back? Can he be formidable in this offense as we go down this run? Are the injuries too much? And regardless, either way, is it already time to start looking at a tight end in this offseason, in the draft, through free agency next year?
Yeah, so I think Greg Dulcich's injury is definitely concerning. I mean, and can he come back? I think he can. I'm never going to count a player out. And especially I think Greg Dulcich has been through a lot in his career already, and getting into the NFL. I think that he can definitely come back and be a difference maker, of course. But here's the thing: I don't want him rushed back unless he's 100% healthy. Do not rerunning him out there if he's 60%, 70%. He has to be healthy. I think he's came back too soon when he's tried to come back. So I think that it's important for this Broncos team to hold him out until he's 100%. If he's not 100% this year, then moving on to next year. However, I will say this team does need a tight end. If you want Russell Wilson to be successful, and Russell Wilson's your quarterback going forward, you need a tight end. You need a tight end there. You need that vertical threat. Adam Troutman, Chris Manhertz, those guys aren't going to be that. That's not what they are. Their game right now. Those we are running out two tight ends. That's not what their game is. And so it's just, I think that they definitely need to address it in the draft. Now, is that Brock Bowers? I don't know. I know that Mr. Kurt Valente is definitely a big fan of Brock Bowers, but he also has some injury history too. So it's just thing is you have to definitely, I think, keep that in mind. But I would say yes. I think you have to at least look at it and try to see what you can get, to help your red zone, because right now Broncos still kind of a little shaky in the red zone. So I think definitely for sure in their future you have to look at that. But also, Keith, I'll ask you this: is this the game that we see that Chris Manhertz and Adam Troutman be blocking tight ends?
Say that one more time, man.
Is Adam Troutman and Chris Manhertz, is this the game that we see them be blocking tight ends? Because here's the thing: Mike McGlinchey is someone I'm really concerned about in this game, and so this might be the game to use them. I mean, you're going to use your other, you're going to use other offensive lineman sets and stuff like that. But this is a game. I mean, this is what you brought these guys in here for, is games like this to slow down the pass rush. I'm just saying this might be a game that you use those guys in. So
that's a great point. That we haven't given McGlinchey a whole lot of help from the tight ends. We haven't seen a whole lot of chipping or anything like that. When it's passing, and he's out there on his island. This might be the time, man. You're talking about, I was talking about looking in that playbook, drawing something up, maybe, again, going back over all that film and seeing what you do well, what needs to be improved. That's one place that absolutely could be improved. If nothing else, a chip. If it's a 1-2 go, even better. Block go. I love that. You know what I mean? We need a little bit of help out there. I think that would be huge, and it also, I think, would kind of give Russ that delayed outlet, rather than everything just going out into pattern immediately. It would give him that delay. It's a good call out, man. Great call out. I would love to see that. Love to see all the comments that are going through here as well. Kenny, he says, speaking of tight ends, I forgot to tell you guys, and I saw this, there was an Albert O sighting in Philadelphia, and now with Dallas Goedert hurt, he may get a chance. Yeah, might see a little bit of Albert O up in Philadelphia. That would be a little bit wild. He's been pretty much relegated to the bottom of the roster, the 53, you know what I mean, is dressing, but never gets any time. That certainly could change. Another thing that we could also see a little bit closer to home in this Monday Night Football game is Mr. Latavius Murray, of course, plays for the Buffalo Bills. We could get a little taste of Latavius Murray, a guy that we just saw last year. So that could be big, I think, in my opinion. Graham coming in here big and says we've been snake bitten at tight end for years. Well, Noah Fant could have been pretty good if we had the right quarterback in place at the time. Ooh, big dig on Drew Lock up there. But that being said, I agree. He says, what's Julius Thomas doing these days? Well, maybe not. Julius Thomas actually kind of really fell off after he left the Broncos. So
what does Julius Thomas do without Peyton Manning?
and last little day, Graham is just like very snidey tonight. He says maybe McGlinchey is a better catching than blocking. We'll just switch the tight end and Mike McGlinchey. They'll just swap positions. We'll put McGlinchey out. I have some type of memory of him maybe actually catching a pass as a San Francisco 49er, but I may be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that one. That's a 100% don't quote me on that.
I don't want to see it now, though.
Now we got to draw it out of that playbook. Absolutely, man. All right, man. We've talked about all the ways the Broncos can win. Why don't we hit our predictions? I remember mine from our last show. I predicted a 23-20 Broncos win. You predicted, do you remember?
I think it's 17-10, but I think I might go a little higher on that because I was a little low on that one. So I'll say 24-20.
All right. Ratchet it up a little bit. Still giving us the win.
Yeah.
One of the things that we put in our ad, man, was what this win would mean for the Broncos, man. this is a point that you wanted to bring up. It's a point that you brought up in our chat, man. I assume it's something that you're fairly passionate about, man. So tell us, man, Trevor, a Broncos win Monday Night Football over the Buffalo Bills. It's not like we're, top of the AFC West all of a sudden. So what does this win do for us, and where can it propel us towards?
Yeah, so I think that definitely this game, I mean, if you get a win in Buffalo, because when was the last time the Broncos had a win in Buffalo? I can't even remember last time they had a win in Buffalo. So I think anytime you get a chance to get a win on the road, not only just in Buffalo, but it's just in general, against a great team, because that is a great Buffalo Bills team. They haven't been playing up to par this year. They haven't been clutch either this year when they needed to be. So I would say anytime you can get a win against a great team like the Buffalo Bills, and a team that's been in the playoffs year in, year out consistently. So that would be huge, I think, for this team's confidence going forward. You have Cleveland coming up, you have Minnesota coming up. Those two teams that I think that are very, very winnable games. I think if you can go in there to Buffalo and and still win there, that's huge momentum coming back home and be able to go up against Minnesota and Cleveland and try to get wins against those teams that, in my opinion, are worse than a Buffalo Bills team.
Yeah, they both have their own set of challenges as we go into those games. But a Buffalo Bill loss, a Bronco win in Buffalo Monday night, just the momentum. This team, and hats off to Sean Payton, every single coach on that staff, for keeping this team in their heads right. Because for them to come back and to win against the Green Bay Packers, for them to go in and finally break the curse, I still have the signage here, man. It's over.
Oh, yeah. You got to keep that for when we get that win on Monday night.
There you go. Yeah, maybe it will be there. That as well. So, but to go in and get that monkey off our back versus the Kansas City Chiefs, to completely change the mindset of certainly at least the general public and the media, and where we thought this Denver Broncos team was at and where they were going, man, hats off to them, man, because they've kept them in this. And if they keep it in enough that they can win against the Buffalo Bills, yeah, then, as Kevin Garnett yelled out when he won the NBA championship, anything is possible.
Yeah, that's true.
Anything is possible.
Yeah.
At that point, anything is possible. And even though Cleveland is one of those teams that is a juggernaut for a defense, even though the Vikings, as of right now, are riding high off of a Josh Dobbs-led, comeback win and riding high on that momentum, there is no reason that the Broncos can't beat those two teams. And if that's the case, man, all of a sudden you're talking about a 5-game win streak. Well,
it's crazy.
Anything is possible at that point. I don't want to hear about the Lions being tough or the Chargers being tough, or having to play the Raiders again. Any of these remaining games after that 5-game win streak, anything is possible, man. And it's a big call out. So big call out here from Kenny Kirkpatrick saying, if windy, 21-20 Broncos. Not windy, 24-23 Broncos. Very good.
One score.
So we're getting an extra field goal apiece, man, depending upon the win. But I like that. I like that, Kenny. Either way, it's a win. He says, by the way, I'm going to wear blue and orange on my next Giants show. Bet. Oh, that's right. We were talking about the bet and who would win.
Yeah.
And it's Giants lost.
Yeah.
And the Broncos won. And the Broncos won against the Chiefs. So that's right. Kenny Kirkpatrick, tune into the K&K Sports Show. You'll find a Giants fan wearing Broncos colors.
Have to screenshot it.
You got to screenshot it. Yeah, get that up on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. So, all right, man. Another big topic that we just wanted to hit, and I want to get one more that I didn't even tell you about as well. But the next topic that we wanted to talk about is this conglomeration of Sean Payton, Russell Wilson. It hasn't looked fantastic. It hasn't looked pretty. Now, don't get me wrong. Russell Wilson, compared to last year, lights out. I mean, comparatively speaking, lights out. He has looked fantastic. Looked completely different than what he looked last year. Not 100% though, man. Not 100%, and it doesn't seem like the offensive passing game is 100% clicking. I got a lot of 100% in here. I don't know what that is. Um, I'm expecting a lot, and nothing shy of 100%. This Sean Payton offense, this Russell Wilson quarterback, relationship, can it exist? Can it be something that, flourishes and, continues that 5-game win streak and who knows beyond? And if that's the case, man, does this survive into next year? And what does it look like, man? This is something that you brought up as well, Trevor, man. So give me your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so I think that definitely we've seen Rusty better, but I don't think he's not Seattle Russ by any means. He's not reached, I think, where he used to be. Now, I think Russ Wilson right now, if you ask me, I think he's a top, probably middle pack quarterback, I would say, right now in the NFL. Just like all of his numbers and stats together, not just like the touchdowns, interceptions, his QBR and all that stuff. So all that together, I think he's a middle pack quarterback. Thing is, I think that you kind of have to find a way to make it work. I mean, again, the Broncos don't have to, but if you move on from Russell Wilson, it's put yourself in a little bit of a difficult situation because you have to eat that dead cap hit, and you're having to take a quarterback probably high in the draft. Yeah. And you're probably going to have to start moving off of them like Garrett Bowles and guys like that, resources around this rookie quarterback to even the money up a little bit so you have some sort of cap room going into this year. So I think you kind of have to, and that's kind of what you brought Sean Payton in here for, not just to fix the offense, but he needs to fix Russell Wilson and make the best out of the situation. And I think if you can have 2 years of Russ, I think, until 2026, when it's a lot easier to get out of his contract, that's ideal. It's not ideal, I don't think, to move on from this next offseason. I think we've seen enough that, okay, maybe Russell Wilson isn't Russ from Seattle, but this is a team that can still win. You're just going to have to find a different way to do it, not just pass the ball all the time, blah, 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 but to run the ball and then set up the pass and keep Russ' strengths ahead of himself and not let Russ's weakness kind of get in the way of Russ being productive. So it'd be interesting, but I also do think this too. I don't think the Broncos should completely neglect the quarterback position this offseason because I think in the draft, maybe not first round, but maybe mid-round, second, third-round draft pick at quarterback, bring it in, set it behind Russ, just as an idea. Because here's the thing. What if Russ then next year he spirals out of control and he's not the same quarterback? I'm not saying that I want that to happen because I want Russ to succeed more than anybody. I really love Russell Wilson. I love him as a leader, just as a player. I think that's what you want as a quarterback, and he takes accountability when he needs to. Yeah. That being said, I do think he is an aging quarterback. I think you do need to at least open up the opportunity of, okay, maybe we need a quarterback to set behind Russ just in case something does happen. Maybe he gets hurt, whatever. You have a guy sitting behind him because here's the thing. Right now, I'm not a big fan of Jarrett Stidham. I don't want Jarrett Stidham on this team next year as a backup quarterback. He did not look good in the preseason. Why would you trust him to start him at any point in time for this Bronco team and expect to win? It's just not going to happen. So that's just what I think. I think that but I'd be curious to hear what you think, Keith.
I'm right there, man. I mean, unfortunately, contract is what it is. We signed it. He signed it. The Broncos signed it. And this contract is not easy to move off from. It doesn't make much sense to move off from it, not unless for some reason you're trading and people are picking up money and the whole 9 yards, or Russell Wilson wants to, go play someplace else, so he's going to give some money back to the Broncos in order to facilitate the trade or whatever it happens to be. But as the contract sits right now, and what we should expect to happen is it plays out, But I'm 100% on board with you. I think that we need to get somebody in there. I think Jarrett Stidham and Russell Wilson are just two different quarterbacks that require two different systems. And if you want Jarrett Stidham to be, flourishing, it's not within the same offense that you put together for Russell Wilson. Just pure and simple. Jarrett Stidham was never anything to write home about. I was kind of surprised that we went out. We paid him so much in order to be our backup quarterback. For what it's worth, I guess Bill Belichick liked him and Josh McDaniels liked him, and if that's the case, I don't think we'd necessarily need him on our team. Just based on those two things alone. 100%, I would bring in a quarterback. I think the big thing is depending upon how this season plays out will depend upon what type of urgency you put on that position, but. My biggest thing from the very beginning is the age of Russell Wilson. There's just not that many quarterbacks who get into their 35th, 36th, 37th year and are highly productive. I mean, true elite Hall of Famers sometimes can do that, but beyond that, most guys, by the time they hit mid-30s, it's about time to hang it up. And that's where we're hitting with Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
So, yeah, these next couple of years, I'm not expecting Russell Wilson to return to Seattle Russ, as you mentioned, because I just don't think he's on that trend where he's capable of returning to Seattle Russ. It's about managing Russell Wilson and getting the most you possibly can out of a kind of an aging quarterback while trying to bring a new one along in the background. But I would agree. I'm not going to invest huge, at least at this point. Not if we're talking about a 5-game winning streak, buddy.
Yeah, no. Well, and that's a big risk. I mean, and you look at what the Panthers are doing with Bryce Young right now. I mean, the guy looks lost right now. You're going to invest that into a quarterback. That's going to set your franchise back for years. I mean, that Carolina Panthers team, they're going to be struggling to put any sort of resources around him as far as in the draft anyways. And so it's just a big risk to go up in the end of the draft and get a quarterback right now. I think if you can get one middle round or anything like that, maybe towards the back end of the draft, that makes more sense than just, I think, drafting quarterback early. Because here's the thing, you're not drafting a quarterback early and going to sit him behind Russ. That would just be a waste of a pick, in my opinion. And so I think that you are probably, second round, you can get away with it. You can set a quarterback behind Russ. But I think first round, it's just like, yeah, you're probably not, especially in the top 10 or, if the Broncos, depending on where they finish. I don't think that you're setting or you're starting that quarterback over Russell Wilson, and you're not gonna, and he's not gonna sit behind Russ either. So I think that you are definitely gonna be. It's a little bit of a different situation with that. So I would say middle of the draft, and at some point in time, you take that shot just because you've seen success in the past with the quarterbacks taken late. Look at Brock Purdy. I know this year he's not been looking great, but in the years past, Kyle Shanahan. I know Kyle Shanahan, Sean Payton. You can debate that all you want. Who is the better offensive mind or whatever? But if Sean Payton's this quote unquote offensive mind that you will not get, I mean, why couldn't he get out of a quarterback in the middle of the round? I mean, he got some out of Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. So
very true, very true. The one thing I'm going to bring up a comment because all of a sudden I lost my train of thought. I really had a great point, I promise.
No,
but Kenny's coming in here and saying there's no reason why the Broncos can't take a shot in the late round and hope to find a guy to develop behind Russ for 2 years. Grayson McCall, Coastal Carolina, is going to be the next sleeper quarterback. You're hearing it here first.
Old.
I love him, man.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. As we're talking about, a 2-game win streak and going up against the Buffalo Bills, I was all primed and ready to already start looking towards the draft, and then we started winning, and I started getting a little bit excited. So I've kind of pushed that off for the time being,
Yeah.
but I will be taking a look at Grayson McCall, Kenny, and I will definitely be naming you if that's the next sleeper that comes out of the draft and being big. I was going to say, I remember my train of thought. The age disparity between us might be showing it right here because I have no problem taking a guy early and having him sit behind Russ. And maybe that's because in my day and age, when I was actually playing in the 80s and 90s, that was the way it was, man. No quarterback got drafted and played the same year. It didn't matter where you took him. It rarely happened. You know what I mean? It was, I shouldn't say it never happened, but it was a rarity unless you were getting that number 1 overall pick, that number 2 overall pick maybe. But if a guy was picked up 12th overall, in the first round, he's sitting. He might sit for a couple of years. I have no problem with that, just especially based on where our contract is. It makes sense. Our contract with Russell Wilson. It makes sense. And maybe you're quote unquote wasting some good years on a rookie quarterback. But you have that option if you're picking them up in the first round for a 5th year. A couple of years isn't going to be that big of a deal. You'll still be able to see exactly what you got. Kenny's also coming in and saying Division II quarterback from Shepherd's College beat Bryce Young last night. Yeah. Bryce Young is not looking all that great to start off his NFL career. And I know there's been quarterbacks, and they pointed out that have started off shaky. There's just something that does not look right about Bryce Young. I don't think he's going to necessarily be the Peyton Manning that struggled and come back and being a Hall of Famer. So,
well, Keith, I want to jump off your what you said about taking quarterback early, if you don't mind. So I was going to say is, I think it just depends on your situation. But in my opinion, the reason why I have concern with it is because the Broncos do have other needs. Like a quarterback is not just their biggest need. I think they do need to address. There is offensive line questions. There is defense. They've got to continue to improve the defense side of the ball. So
100%.
that's why I backtrack. I'm like, I don't know if taking quarterback early in the first round is necessarily the smart move. Now, if you maybe a back end of the first round, if you trade back, then maybe I can get behind that a little bit more. But here's the thing I want to point out: the Kansas City Chiefs, when they did that with Patrick Mahomes, the reason they did it with Mahomes is because they had a team they're ready to win already, so they can afford to do that. They had Alex Smith, so he could sit behind Alex Smith for a year, and they can afford to do that. Broncos, I just don't know that they're in that same situation right now. I think they have other needs that they need to address first, and not just a quarterback that can just sit behind Russ for 2 years.
That's fair. That's fair, man. I mean, as it sits right now, we're not expecting to be at the very top of the draft board anyway. I'm not going to say, unless something just crazy happened, that somebody falls in your lap. I don't see any reason to be taking a quarterback where I expect us to be picking in the first round. So good call out as far as that's concerned. Kenny's saying we should all plan a trip to Detroit 2024 for the NFL draft. Carson lives nearby and would be awesome. Yeah. Would be an awesome host.
That would be awesome.
That would be kind of cool, man. I don't know if I have it in me, but hey, you never know, man. I appreciate the invitation, though.
Yeah.
All right, bud. Last thing I just wanted to get to before we got out of here, and that's, like I said, kind of maybe a surprise topic here, but AFC West and how we're, we haven't talked about this, but, obviously Andy Reid is probably top of the heap. Sean Payton just got hired on and is here for a while. But then if you look at some of the other teams, some of the other coaches, man, we just had Josh McDaniels fired. We didn't even talk about that. Former Denver Broncos head coach. He's out the door. Antonio Pierce is now running the Las Vegas Raiders. And then you have Brandon Staley, another former Denver Bronco in a capacity running the Los Angeles Chargers, man. I guess I just wanted to get your opinion, man, on those last two coaches. Obviously, my first question and thought, do you think Josh McDaniels ever gets a head coaching job again in the NFL?
No, I don't think so. I think that I heard some reports out that it's just like, I don't know if you don't know if they're true or not, but he didn't even address the team. Antonio Pierce had to address the team. Then he said something about how Antonio Pierce played him against the Patriots, and he called out the Patriots or whatever and said, "Oh yeah, but we beat the Patriots." And then McDaniels pulled him aside later on and said, "Don't talk to the Patriots like that." Yeah. I'm like, what side are you on? At what point in time? Are you a Patriot or are you the Broncos? Here's the problem with Josh McDaniels. He always brings in New England guys. That is never going to work. You can't just always bring back players that from your side. When he was with the Broncos, he wanted Matt Castle. He did not want Jake Keller. When he didn't get Matt Castle, he pivoted to Kyle Orton. So that's the thing is, McDaniels has his own ways he's stuck in, and he can't get over that, and he can't relate to the players. Tyler Columbus, a former Broncos offensive lineman, has talked about this a lot when McDaniels was in Denver. He was miserable in the locker room. He was not. You could not. These players did not want to play with Justin McDaniels. That's why a big reason why he got fired. So I would say about McDaniels' biggest problem is, I mean, he doesn't relate to the players at all, and he's just so damn stubborn. I don't know that any team would want to hire him. Brought in Jimmy Garoppolo, another New England tie, and I heard that the Raiders GM at the time didn't even want Garoppolo. So you're off. You're like, what are you doing? You're going against your GM's wishes. You're not coinciding to try to build that team. You're just doing it how you vision it. But again, Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't the answer over Derek Carr. I mean, come on now. So yeah, I don't think McDaniels gets any head coaching job. I think he probably ends up back in New England where Belichick will probably give him another opportunity to be his OC and try to fix Mac Jones, I would think, or whatever quarterback that they take, maybe in the draft or however. But I don't see McDaniels back in New England. Other than that, I don't see him going anywhere else.
Yeah, I don't see it either. I tried to warn the Raiders, though I'm kind of glad they didn't take my advice and hired Josh McDaniels. I seriously think he's been sent to the AFC West in order to try to destroy teams, because it seems like that's all he's done in his coaching career. Well, and switching over real quick though, because we've got to get going. Got to wrap this up. Yeah. Brandon Staley, man, Brandon Staley, great offensive mind. Quite honestly, I still remember when he got hired. I was like, dang, I wish we could have maybe somehow kept Brandon Staley with the Denver Broncos. Has had some very questionable head coaching decisions, though. And seems like he's continuously on the hot seat, but not on the hot seat as far as the ownership is concerned. Is this the year that they finally move on from Brandon Staley? And once again, question would be, does he get another opportunity to be a head coach in the NFL if that happens to be the case?
Are you talking? You meant defensively with Staley? You said offensively.
Did I?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes, defensively.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I was going to make. No, you're good. I was just clearing that up.
Yes, I appreciate it, man.
No. Yeah. So with Staley, I just don't think he's ever been able to figure out the offense and get the most out of Herbert. I think that I think he's just made a lot of questionables, and his game management sure reminds me of Vic Fangio, just really poor at it. And maybe he is another Vic Fangio. Maybe he's better of a defensive coordinator than he is a head coach. Now Staley's still young enough. Now he's not as old as Vic, so he might get another opportunity somewhere. But right now, yeah, I think that the Chargers should have moved on from this past offseason, actually. Maybe even 2 offseasons.
A lot of people do.
I mean, that's the thing. It's just like I think that they're just way too late on this, and you're wasting years of Justin Herbert being on your team, have him under control. You're wasting that time. It's as an organization, as a franchise, you have to know when to hit to get a head coach out of here. If he's not doing the job, he's not getting the best of your players, and you're continuously just not exceeding expectations to where they need to be. So with Staley, I think that he'll probably get a defensive coordinator job somewhere. Where it's really hard to speculate because again we don't know if we're trying to fire him or not. But with Staley, I think that maybe eventually he gets another head coaching job, but I would say he needs to learn from his mistakes. That's when the interview process really becomes crucial. Of has he actually learned from his mistakes? Because Josh McDaniels did not learn from his mistakes. Let's see what Staley, if he can. It remains to be seen. And I also one quick note on the Raiders before we get out of here.
Absolutely, man.
I don't know what is the Raiders owner doing? Where's Mark Davis doing? I mean, he's not. You're hiring Josh McDaniels after you just had your interim head coach Rick Bisaccia take your team to the playoffs, and players were. I mean, they were all in for that, and you ended up moving on from him to bring in McDaniels in, who already didn't have a great track record in Denver previously. What are we doing there? That's at some point in time that is ownership making the wrong calls and not trusting someone to make the calls for him. That's ownership getting involved too much, in my opinion. And I see that a lot. And just sports in general, those teams, when the owners get involved into the football side of things, they are hurting their own franchises. And you hire guys, let them hire their own head coaches, bring their own staff in. Don't intervene. You intervene, I mean, that's game over. It just doesn't work out.
Good luck, buddy. Like father, like son, man. I don't know if Al Davis was more involved with his team than I would say even Jerry Jones, and like father, like son, he says he has an off, he wants to, have a standoff approach, but I think he, as someone else pointed out, he's in love with big names. Yeah. He brought in Josh Gruden. He brings in Josh McDaniels. He's in love with, he would have been set with Rich Bisaccia. We'll see what happens with Antonio Pierce. Coaches are loving it. I mean, the players are loving him so far. Yeah. So see if he continues to go down that path and, maybe get an opportunity, or if he's just out the door for another big name. So
Antonio Brown, and then you got Devontae Adams as well. So, I mean, keep adding big names to it. I think you're right. I think you're hitting on something right and perfectly correct, Keith. I mean, he's got something with
Chandler
the big
Jones.
names. Yeah, Chandler Jones. Yeah, exactly. Actually, that's actually somebody I wanted the Broncos to go after instead of Brandon Gregory, but we'll say that topic for a different day. But
there you go,
but yeah, that's just it's a mess and with the Raiders right now, and I would say the Chargers too.
All right, man. We're predicting a Bills win, man. I think this is going to be the last time we talk to everybody until a post-game show.
Yeah.
We'll keep everyone tuned in just to make sure. But, hey, that being said, Rocky Mountain Sports Network, check those. We're brought to you by we're part of the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. We're brought to you by the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, guys. So check them out, Rocky Mountain Sports Network. You can check them out at RockyMountainSN.com. That's RockyMountainSN.com. And they're going to keep you up to date on all your Broncos, all your Avalanche, all your Nuggets, all of your Rockies right there, RockyMountainSN.com. You can also go out on Facebook. You can go out on Twitter or X and search out Rocky Mountain Sports Network. bring you right there and keep you up to date on all of it. Also, guys, we mentioned it at the top of the show, Willow Seasonings and Blends is our sponsor. WillowSeasonings.com. Spice up your life, man. They got fantastic rubs, spices, and sauces. They also got something big coming. So check out their website. They've been teasing it. I'm excited. I don't even know what it is. So that being said, guys, if you go in, add all your spices and sauces into your cart, go into your promo code, put in DBR 2023. It's going to save you 15% off your purchase. Do that. It also gives $1 to somebody, a family in need over at the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. So we really appreciate that, and we appreciate David Slade. That being said, too, David Slade is a veteran, and since we're not going to be on tomorrow, happy Veterans Day to all our veterans. We appreciate all that have served, and David Slade is one of those people. So just another reason to head over to willowseasonings.com and spice up your life. So just one more quick check of the comments. We have Pearl coming in and saying, great show and thank you. And Kenny's coming in and says, I need to ask Trevor a fun, simple question. Trevor, favorite Bronco of all time?
Ooh,
wow, man.
That's a good one.
That's a good. And that being said, man, I'll wrap that right up into your final thoughts as well, man. So get the answer to Kenny.
Yeah, so I would say Kenny. I'm going to say Champ Bailey. I really loved Champ Bailey back in the day. I just think he was such a special talent, just to how he took care of himself on and off the field. He was just a pro all the way around. The reason he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, he just one of the best cornerbacks we will probably ever see put on a Denver Bronco uniform. He was loyal to the Broncos. You didn't hear him, kind of talking to the media. And that's why I think that, also I wonder if Champ Bailey hasn't had something to do with Pat Surtain kind of being a little bit more mature, kind of not talking to the media and just sticking to his guns and being here in Denver and enjoying his time here. And so Champ Bailey for sure, all around pro. But final thoughts, guys, I would just say, just thank you guys all, first of all, for being a part of the show. We continue to have more shows as often as we possibly can. And we're going to have a post-game show, no doubt about it. So just continue to look out for that. And any other shows, maybe in between, it's possible. So, but just thank you guys all for coming in here and for watching. Again, you guys make this possible. We do this for you guys. You guys chime in. You guys are awesome, and we just really love that you guys come in and are such great Bronco fans, best fans of all time, no doubt about it, in all sports. So just thank you guys for everything, and go Broncos, and let's get that win against the Bills.
All right, man. I love it, man. I love it. I'll give a few names because I can scroll through some of these comments and shout out to a few individuals. I may not get them all, but Ernie Mays, Pearl, Graham was in here, Jeremy Dressler, Jody Moncrief was in here, Kenny Kirkpatrick, of course, and Kurt Valente of the K&K Sports Show, all in here. I don't know if I'm missing anybody else, but that being said, guys, really appreciate you coming in here, being huge supporters of the Denver Bronco Roundup, being a part of the Rocky Mountain Sports Network family, supporting our great sponsors like Willow Seasonings and Blends. We're excited, guys. Just a few weeks ago, we were down in the dumps, didn't know where this team was heading. We've strung together 2 wins. We got a Monday Night Football game. We both predicted a win. Even Trevor, who's kind of a pessimist when it comes to predicting wins for the Denver Broncos as of lately. So we're excited, man. We're on the train. We can't wait to get another win. We can't wait to have another show for you guys, Broncos country. So stay tuned. Again, easiest way, be part of the Rocky Mountain Sports Network community. You'll always get your alerts. So remember, like, share, subscribe. Get all your friends and family that love Denver Broncos just like you involved with our community. Be part of the posse over here at the Denver Bronco Roundup. With that being said, guys, I'm going to try this again. Hey, and maybe I'm gonna, I don't know how many people are watching right now, I'll do this again another time, but this is the reason I say this, all right? So keep your feet in your stirrups. What does that mean? That means, man, you got to keep yourself grounded, right? You got to keep yourself balanced. You got to keep yourself, focused. You got to keep your feet in the stirrups, right? You got to keep your guns in your holsters. That means, hey, man, don't fly off the handle. You know what I mean? Think about what you're doing. If you got to bring your gun out of your holster, there's got to be a reason. So keep your gun in your holster. And of course, Broncos, keep the Broncos in your heart, man. That goes without saying. We all know what that's about. We appreciate you guys so much for being a part of it. Again, check out for us the next show. There'll definitely be a post-game show, might even be a pre-game show, but if you're in there and you're part of that community, you'll know. You'll know. Until next time, guys, we're out of here. Have a great night.